Hey everybody, welcome to Geek Rant. It's Greg again on the channel with Toby, and today we're going to be talking about episode 4 of The House of the Dragon. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. We are going to be talking about episode 4 of The House of the Dragon. This
Yeah,
episode was called King of the Narrow Sea, which is a reference to Damien Targaryen, which I thought was interesting because he wasn't necessarily the most. It was a big part of the episode, but he wasn't the most important. They seem to name a
no.
few things after him, don't they? And they obviously like
Yeah,
that character. Interesting.
yeah.
Um,
It seems that way, doesn't it?
yeah, I thought to begin with, I thought this was a pretty good episode. I was liking the sort of intrigue and getting back to a bit more the Game of Thrones type,
Agreed.
following people around, backstabbing, trying
Yep.
to outmaneuver people a little bit politically. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was really pleased with that. I thought it was really good. Doesn't always have to be big battles and things like that. It can
No.
be some really good. And this for me is, we've talked about the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power.
Yep.
That
Yep.
the character development isn't really there. This
That's
is
right.
always the characters they're developing, aren't they? What their positions and how they're doing, and yeah,
Yep.
I'm really pleased with that. It's good to see that progression of what's happening.
Yeah. The
And
the intrigue.
yeah, it was quite nice as well. There wasn't another big jump in time. There may have been a few months in between this and the last one.
Yeah.
I think obviously Alison would have had, I think she had the second child, didn't she? I don't know, but she didn't look as pregnant as she did in the last one. So
Yeah.
maybe a few months after. But I think that was quite nice as well. Because I do like the actress who's playing Rhaenyra. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think what we saw today with this episode was a return to the characters who were more prevalent in the first
yes,
two episodes. We
yeah.
had a carefree Rhaenyra,
Mm,
someone who wasn't necessarily weighed down by any kind of tantrums or anything like that. She
yeah,
was in control again
yeah,
throughout this whole
yeah.
episode, and I felt like she,
Pushing her
although
boundaries a bit. Yeah.
yeah, she although she was being led by Damien, she was very much a willing participant, wasn't she? She very
Yes.
much
Yeah, yeah.
became his follower. But I thought in the
Mhm.
end, it kind of empowered her to a certain extent, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And I thought her performance in this, as you say, Millie
Mm.
Alcock was excellent. I thought
Yes.
that
Yeah. She
she
has
just
definitely been
completely
a
nailed
real,
it.
yeah, really good highlight of the series, isn't she?
Yeah, and that's not just because she's an attractive young lady. That is because she's
No,
actually acted really well
she
throughout
has. She
the whole
has.
show.
And she's had to convey lots of different things, hasn't she? She's
Yeah, I
had to
think
convey the different
yeah,
emotions. Like you say, she was a tantrum, sort of in the last episode. She was quite
yeah,
regal in other episodes.
yeah,
She's now taken like you say, a slightly more carefree sort of attitude, isn't she? That she's going to take a bit more what she wants, and
yeah,
and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's really sort of shown a great progression with her.
yeah.
Um,
I think that
Obviously at the
that's the sort of sign of different sort of directing. And I thought that
yes, maybe
this one was much more subtly directed
yeah,
with a
yeah.
whole bunch of little references and the it really sucked in the Game of Thrones lore
It
with
did. It
it
did.
really did, didn't it? I mean, I think that
I mean, if you look for it, there are, and again, we're
yeah,
not experts, are we, on the
no,
law? But if you look for it, there are always lots of like little sigils of houses of people who
yeah,
were part of something in Game of Thrones that the
yeah,
ancestors of, and there's all these sorts of little references and things,
which is
and
really
yeah,
cool.
it's really well done, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
been yeah, it's been a real delight. So obviously we start off, at the end of the episode, last episode, the king had sort of, Viserys had said, you've got to marry. You can choose, but you've got to marry, and that's part of what being, the queen will be. You've got to do
mm-hmm.
your duty by the kingdom. And so we sort of see at the beginning, don't we? she's actually at Storm's End, which is the Baratheon home, and she's sitting there with one of the Baratheons. Wasn't quite sure what his name was, but she was sitting with him, and they're going through all these suitors, aren't they? And that was quite an interesting bit, to sort of see that. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, what the young lad steps up and he's berated by another person in the crowd who ends up thrusting his sword into his gut. This little kid. I just thought that's such a if you had to sort of double take as this kid in the background stabs this.
Well, because she walked away, didn't she? She turned back to see who had won, and the young guy had won, hadn't he? And it was like, that's a little bit I thought he was going to.
That was, that was quite grim. I thought that was brilliant. I thought that's the love. That is a lovely little Game of Thrones nod. I mean, it's just little details like that which went throughout the first 5 series of Game of Thrones, and I just think that having that there enriches the content.
Absolutely.
It's really good.
Yeah, it reinforces that world, doesn't it? That whole sort of this is that world, and you're not in I know it's medieval, but it's not normal medieval. It's in that sort of crazy world, isn't it? So that was good. And obviously she leaves and she's heading back, and she sees a dragon comes close to her ship, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And she and it's Daemon on his dragon flying back to King's Landing. And he meets with the king, doesn't he? He sort of goes and has a bit of a meet with the king, and they make up. It's kind of like a nice moment when he's
it's a little bit tense. It's a little bit tense.
It's tense to start with.
He's wearing a crown.
That's right.
And no one else is allowed to wear a crown. No. But then he kind of says, it was kind of, it's an honorary title that my people gave me. Yeah. And so
the King of the Narrow Sea, wasn't it? That was, like we say, the name of the episode.
Yeah. And so that is there. And I think at this point you get a sense we've got a different sort of Damien Targaryen in this episode. Very different sort of character, one that suits Matt Smith's style of acting.
Now this is what I was going to say. I thought this is interesting because you're not so keen on him when he's trying to be in a commanding role. I've noticed that, but when he's slightly more playing a bit more of a subtle sly role, I can see him being better at that, and I agree. He was better in this episode. Much better in this episode.
Much better in this episode. Yeah. He really was creepy at times, wasn't he? And I just
oh god, yeah.
I know.
We'll get onto that, but
we will. But I think in this first instance, you get a sense he's going to be kind of creepy. He comes in. He's not like, he doesn't make some large announcement. He's quiet and he's close, and he puts his head on Viserys' shoulder. Paddy Considine. His performance in this, Paddy Considine, cannot be underestimated.
He's been really good,
outstanding. I've just been so impressed with his acting. It's been brilliant.
He's really played that so well, hasn't he? I sort of think he is that king. He's got flaws. He's got lots of flaws, and he always seems to be caught in the middle of stuff, doesn't he? But
he's indecisive as well. Yeah,
he is.
He does totally believe it, and he's dying as well. He's deteriorating. He's breaking down.
That's right. We're seeing that. He's lost a couple of fingers, hasn't he? He's got. Now we saw him also when his arm was and then when you saw him later with Alison and they're in the bed and he's it was stuff on his back and he's falling apart, isn't he? He's falling apart.
I think I'm pretty sure it's something like blood poisoning, as I said before. He can't heal. His body's infected. He's probably got cancer of the blood or something like that. It's like
there's history of interbreeding, isn't there? That's one of these diseases is an issue, is part of an issue of interbreeding.
Definitely.
You get this can't think what the name of but it's your blood doesn't clot very well or something like that. And they've said that in the original Game of Thrones, didn't they? When obviously Jaime Lannister was with his sister, wasn't he?
Yes.
They were producing offspring, and sometimes they were good, sometimes they were kind of crazy, and so they were sort of saying that you're kind of rolling a dice a bit.
And that's George R. R. Martin directly referencing the English royalty and how they would interbreed in England, so it's fascinating for us on another level.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
you know, we kind of, that relates to our own history in this country where we are. So that's also fascinating, you know.
Yes, definitely. So obviously he pleasures it, but then he sets up a little thing for Rhaenyra, doesn't he puts a bag in her room and she finds a secret passage and follows the passage, and then
next to her bed that she's known nothing about this whole time.
Exactly.
I felt that. I felt in that scene that she could have spent a bit more time searching for it, but she doesn't. She goes. She manages to find it straight away and go straight through.
Yes.
And then this is obviously drawing upon. There's a history of girls or kings dressing up to going out into the public in disguise. You know. You know, and also Arya does it in Game of Thrones.
That's right.
You know, and there's she heads off.
She does it more for survival, doesn't she? You know,
she does.
Arya. She does it more for survival because you know her dad was beheaded. All the family are being sort of pulled apart. So she had to hide, didn't she? Really? So it's different purposes, but there are definitely bits where you see she sees the performers about you know what the king and all that sort of thing were doing. That was in Game of Thrones, wasn't it? When she was elsewhere as hidden away as a so
it's that continued homage to the original source, which I think just made this episode so much better.
It did. Then we get that really awkward sort of scene where he takes
incestual scene.
He takes her into like a brothel and starts to you know
suggest that she can take what she likes.
Exactly.
That she could take him if she wanted to. But Damon is this is where I think Matt Smith plays his character well. He's obviously kind of impotent in a way, isn't he? His character. A bit strange, he doesn't quite understand himself. That for me is much deeper sort of interesting character that Matt Smith can play. And we see that here because he can't go all the way.
No.
At this point, you know, it was interesting.
I mean, we saw it in an earlier episode as well, didn't we? When he was with Masara, you know, he couldn't perform, could he? So
that's right. And he said that she was pregnant when she wasn't. Masara knows. Obviously knows this. You know, but she's got a bigger part to play in this Masara. So she's
yes, that's right. That kind of comes out a bit later on, doesn't it?
It really does,
no, it's interesting. Obviously he pulls away, doesn't he, and leaves her there. She heads back, gets followed by a spy.
She's all fiery and ready for sex and bit of humpy pumpy.
So old Kristen Cole gets dragged in and pursued and slightly taken advantage of, wasn't he? Really, but apparently he didn't put up a lot of a fight.
No, apparently in the book, this Damon encourages her to court Kristen Cole. So so there's some connection there with the original story, which is nice. But and then they have a very passionate scene, don't they? And I was quite surprised because the indication is that Rhaenyra is quite young still.
Yes, 17 or 18 or something.
17 or something.
I think they did say 17 in the last
17,
episode. So
they said,
but
but anyway, they get it on, which is probably not really much of a surprise. It's been
the
writing's been on the wall for a while, isn't it?
No, exactly. And obviously this information, not the Kristen bit, but the Damien Targaryen stuff has come back to Otto Hightower. He's found out. He uses these he uses Massaria, doesn't he? We believe she's going to be the White Worm, this character who's talked about, the White Worm. And he then tries to then put this information to the king, which kind of totally backfires on him, really, doesn't it? The king's kind of outraged at this and goes off and
Rhaenyra points out a couple of things, doesn't she? You know, that they're getting it secondhand, that there are spies, and it makes Viserys consider Otto's position through the generations,
exactly.
and what part did he play?
Yeah,
And this is really interesting.
She suggests that, doesn't she? She says about Otto, that he's spying on people and doing these things. He wants his grandson on the throne.
Yeah. And so that little
totally
statement
true.
that he
Totally
made,
true.
that little sort of throwaway statement about Aegon being on the throne last episode makes more sense now, based within the context of this episode.
Yeah,
because it gives it's a reason and a fuel to the fire, if you like, for Viserys, who removes the hand.
He does, yeah. Exactly. So that's going to be quite interesting to see how Otto Hightower responds and what he's going to do, because he's a bit like a Littlefinger sort of character, isn't he? That's if you're going to equate him to somebody, and he was always manipulating and trying to worm his way around things, wasn't he? Yeah, maybe he'll have a nasty
to his
ending.
detriment.
yeah. I was going to say maybe have a nasty ending, just like him. That was a good ending, wasn't it?
It was a good ending.
Quite satisfying when we saw old Arya just.
It was. I think to a certain extent, it's almost a shame to get rid of these types of characters, because
I know
they do enrich a show.
Absolutely.
And I like having Otto Hightower there. He's a sniveling little bastard. Who is wangling his way through.
Yes.
I mean, but they're saying that he may well have killed Viserys' father.
Yes. This is what he's suggesting. It could have been some sort of strange coincidence that. 5 days later, so. Could be. Well, I wouldn't put it past him. He doesn't seem like someone I'd necessarily trust. I
think, and it's really great because we're talking about it here. We're talking about the intrigue and the what ifs and who did this and what did that. It's fascinating to be able to do that. And then if you look at the Rings of Power, we've got very little to say about that, haven't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Where the characters are woven in.
I know.
And that is, this George R. Martin's skill is this political weaving that he does within his books. And sometimes it can be too much, it can be overly complex. But we're missing that with
and at times there are some similar characters, some similar sort of things. We're just saying that Otto Hightower's very much like the Littlefinger, this Massaria character. She was from a brothel. An old Tyrion Lannister. He fell in love with her, and there was all that sort of story. Is a little bit similar. I suppose it's difficult, isn't it? There's not that many professions in these sorts of film things.
There are similar tropes, aren't there? I think I personally don't have a problem,
but there's
I don't have
similarities.
With series assuming that mantle, using the same sorts of tropes. I don't have a problem with that. If it works, it works, and often we're sucked in. I mean, this has nearly got a 9 rating on the Internet Movie Database. Which is amazing. I mean, it really has. It has.
It was a very good episode.
Despite the similar things,
and I thought at the things, end, I'm probably overemphasizing that, but it's
At the end, Viserys brings Daemon in, doesn't he?
That's right.
And he's lying on the floor. And interestingly,
gives him a few kicks, didn't he? And he's
gives him a few kicks, and he's disgusted by his brother. Despite the heritage, despite the Targaryen heritage. And Daemon doesn't say he did sleep with her, but he doesn't say he doesn't.
He doesn't deny it, does he?
No, he doesn't deny it. And then he asks for Rhaenyra to go with him.
To for them to marry.
To marry
in the traditions of our family. This is what he says, isn't it? And it's good. His dad is quite disgusted, isn't he? He's quite disgusted by this, and so it's obviously not necessarily a trait that they're always going to have. That they marry into family and that sort of thing. No, he's the king's now set on her marrying Leonor Valerian and bring those two houses together, to try and unite, because the father, the sea snake, has has gone off, hasn't he? Damon returned, but he didn't.
Yes.
And so he's going to try and heal some wounds, with that, and try and bring the empire together. And
yes.
Quite a nice touch at the end. He sends in a special tea, so that she doesn't get pregnant, because he's just want to double check you're not,
again, I think what that summed up, I think it was a great little moment when he brought it in, and she just stood there staring at him. Brilliant, just how to act in a moment. She just was stunned, but she was curious. And in her, we didn't have to hear her say anything. No. We could hear in her mind now, should I take this? Because I did sleep with Kristen Cole.
Yeah.
I could be pregnant, not by who my dad thinks it.
Yeah, exactly.
By this other guy.
I know.
Do I drink it? So it was a great moment. Just putting that, just one, that is great TV, when you can just put an object down and then you just have so many things run through your head. The connotations of that story. I thought that was just really
I was pretty much like, fucking drink it. Don't get yourself in any shit.
Well, we don't know whether she does or not, do we?
We
That's
don't.
the great thing.
That's the other thing, isn't it? That's exactly it. She could not.
Yeah, she might be pregnant. Who knows? I mean, But I think just looking at that object, it was so ornately designed, wasn't it? It was so beautiful little vase. They didn't have to put it in something so beautiful, but
no, that's true. It was that's true. Yeah, but it's a nice touch, isn't it? When they do things like that. Yeah,
really nice touch.
Yeah, and they are always sticking in that great huge bloody model, aren't they? The one that he's it's I think
getting bigger.
Someone has spent bloody ages building that in the production team, and they're like, we've got to have that in every. It's cost us £10,000 to build that. We've got to keep that in there.
Yeah, it started off smaller, didn't it? And it's got bigger.
There were some big wide shots of it, wasn't there?
Yeah, there were.
Of it.
Yeah, he's in a room. Viserys is a bit of a hobbyist. I can kind of relate to that. But no, I do think that that part of the reason why the show is so good, is because there is some brilliant casting.
Yes,
Paddy Considine, Rhys Ifans, you've got also
and
Gavin
the good thing
Spokes
is
Lord Strong. I think it's brilliant.
They're not necessarily movie stars or people that you would think of straight away. Oh, they'd be a good Targaryen, or they'd be good this. They're great actors that are a bit under the radar, and so they're you can see them as that character. Do you know what I mean? It's when someone too famous comes in, it's like the Matt Smith thing. I think people have a bit of an issue because he's been Doctor Who, as quite an iconic character. And so I think when you don't have as much of that baggage, sort of typecast baggage, I think it really sort of helps people.
It's funny, actually. Paddy Considine has been in a lot of films. And he's played some very quirky people.
But
they weren't necessarily the sorts of films that I would have watched in the past, personally.
No,
so I haven't really
it makes you think
attached to anything in my mind. But I mean,
the only one I can think of him in was that one with it called The World's End with Sean Pegg and
I can't remember him in it. I can't.
He was one of the mates. He was one of the mates. Who goes on the pub crawl.
I've seen a few clips of him looking stupid with moustaches and stuff like that. But
but he's been great in this, isn't he? And I think it's like you say, having a good cast, trying to remain pretty true to the storylines and the world, given that all that detail they're putting into it, it's really coming together nicely, isn't it?
And the show not tell is really working well with this. I think it's really good. I mean, it's going to change. We've got the two new actresses coming in, actors coming in, Emma D'Arcy and Olivia Cook coming in to replace those
I know.
two.
I'm half what because I liked the actresses playing. And Alicent, the woman who's playing Alicent.
She's been all right. She's
been all right.
She's a little bit wooden, I find, but she's all right.
Not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that will be interesting to see how they do that. I presume maybe she's going to be married to the Valerian son. I can't even think what his name is. Leonor. Leonor.
Yeah.
Perhaps she'll be married to him. He'll be a bit older, and maybe they don't have any children or anything, or maybe there's some sort of concern like that.
Yeah. I've been watching the original Game of Thrones.
Oh, have you?
Working my way through it again. Yeah, and there's a point in episode season 3, episode 2 or something.
Yeah.
Where they talk where
about the past.
Joffrey talks about the past.
Right.
And he mentions Rhaenyra and Damien.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, and he talks about what happens to Rhaenyra.
Oh, does he?
And I was like, God damn it! That's it.
Oh no!
That spoiled the ending for me. Yeah. So,
oh no!
I know, but I tell you what, it's a blimmin' cool ending if it is the case.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Okay,
I won't say what it is, but it sounds pretty gruesome.
Oh man. Okay. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's
we know that there isn't a happy ending to Game of Thrones, so we can't expect there to be.
No, God, no.
I know. We don't want it either.
And we've got to be bit careful we don't become too attached to characters, because they're normally the ones that get killed.
That is very true.
Yeah. So all good though. All good in the House of the Dragon. Very pleased.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for joining us today. If you like what we're saying, obviously please subscribe and press the like button and leave any comments. We were happy with Matt Smith this time. What do you think? Do you like him in the commanding role or the sneaky role?
The creepy role.
The creepy role.
Yeah.
But we hope you enjoyed listening to us today, and we'll see you soon.